Hi, all you watchmen out there. Have you been noticing how this purple, magenta, fuchsia color has been predominant in the last few years? It just so happens to be Pantone's color of the year made for the metaverse. The New York Times says, "Say hello to Viva Magenta, the color no one asked for, coming to a world where no one lives." I did happen to notice the one-eyed symbolism also in this ad. I couldn't help but notice that during the Queen's Jubilee ceremony, that her platform was lit up with the same fluorescent iridescent purple, which then lit up what looks like a DNA strand. After the DNA strand is lit up, it then lights up the counterfeit Kabbalah Tree of Life. I also noticed that the Space Needle exhibition, done a few years before, had the same sort of theme, this fluorescent magenta purple, and then combining that with the DNA strands. We soon came to learn that it's the color of Luciferase, a substance extracted from jellyfish or fireflies or other creatures in nature to be used for certain biomedical scientific applications, such as the quantum dot microneedle delivery system that you see here. Many of you are already aware of the scary possible implications about how this might be used, such as a Mark of the Beast identification system scenario. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to something you may have not noticed before. It's the color of Mystery Babylon.
Revelation 17. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Now, when you combine scarlet, which is red, with purple, you get this fuchsia color. Think about it for a moment. They are 2 separate colors, but when combined, you get this magenta fuchsia color. So may I suggest to you, in times past, the Roman Catholic Church and all of its offshoots did represent Mystery Babylon, but in its fullness, Mystery Babylon is represented by this one color. Now let's analyze this a step further. What primary colors make purple? You guessed it, red and blue. Red and blue represents 2 opposing views which is fostered to deliberately create conflict, causing disorder. Then from disorder or chaos, the Illuminati comes to the rescue, which is their desired outcome. We see this symbolism happening in the Republican versus Democrat paradigm. Isn't it interesting that the American flag is red, white, and blue? And when you mix these colors, you get purple? I contend that God has given us a color code in the book of Revelation.
there is this bioluminescent protein, Luciferase, that was discovered, I think, in the 1880s, that you can see manifest today in creatures like the fireflies. What's interesting is they now have figured out how to genetically create this in a lab. So they can synthesize this enzyme, and they have put it inside mice, they've put it inside silkworms, different bacteria and organisms. But what's interesting is that they could, if they want to use it as a form of tracking of any sort, they could. They could do anything with this stuff. And it's just interesting that it exists, but the government doesn't really talk about it too much. And they synthesized it. They can just create it in the lab, produce as much as they want, and literally put it in anything, and it will be a form of identification.
Some people have seen an increase in purple UV street lights for some reason.
So you're really gonna tell me that this is normal, right? And believe that the government said that these lights are just a defect, straight out of factory. So now things come straight out of factory, defective. And not because they want to scan you up for nothing, no Luciferian, nothing since 2020 because of whatever. Huh? You're really gonna tell me that the Biden administration turned around and said that they don't have the money to fix it while sending billions to Ukraine? And all this they're telling you adds up because these lights are safe and effective to you. Huh? Is that what you really think? Huh? Look at it. Right here at the city entrance. Welcome to Dania Beach. We're reporting right here, right now. November 10th. Brickell, Miami. As you can see, they're out here checking for Luciferase. 5G tower. Blue lights. Nothing suspicious at all. Nobody has any idea what's going on, guys. No idea. Look at this car. This car is just getting scanned up right now. I think she glue. This is the new world we live in, guys. I can't make shit up. Look at it. Everybody in the bus being scanned up. They have no idea.
Something that's largely flown under the radar, a patent filed by the U.S. government for a new product containing luciferase. That's a bioluminescent material often used in COVID-19 research. There are now reportedly proposals to use this product to start tracking people's vaccination status with an injectable that would sit under the skin. Now, you've been digging into this issue. Can you tell us what you've learned so far?
Well, I think people get hung up on the freaky name of it because it, of course, it sounds like they're talking about Lucifer from the Bible being like the devil. And, naturally people are concerned about, among the religious community, they talk about the mark of the beast and things like that. And they're legitimately worried about that. And, of course, the media has a field day trying to debunk it and so on. The reality is this. Luciferase, regardless of how you interpret it, right, just on the surface, it's a bioluminescent material contained in like lightning bugs and so on. And one of the reasons they want to use it for these marks they want to give people, and the Department of Homeland Security has filed a patent for it, and there's ongoing research on it. It's a lot of reporting on this. They have filed a patent for it, and they want to give people marks. And the reason they want to use Luciferase is because it's bioluminescent and shows up under UV light. And so they can scan you almost like a barcode. They can scan this mark they give you, and it can bring up, for example, almost just like a QR code, again, like scan with your smartphone. It can bring up data on your vaccination status or any other data they want to include on you. And to me, that is what was concerning. Not so much, well, I think it's creepy, the name of it, of course, especially as related to they want to mark you with it. But to me, the bigger thing, well, arguably the bigger thing, at least the one on the surface, is that they want to do this in the first place. That they want to give people tattoos, essentially, using this bioluminescent material so they can tell whether or not you're listening to the government. That concerns me very deeply. They've already developed it. The issue is whether they will ever actually roll it out, and that's where we're at right now.
Do you all remember Prince, the singer famous for the song Purple Rain? Well, he had another song, which is quite interesting, that most people haven't heard, where he tried to warn us.
find some isolation. The tracker you got from vaccination. It keeps playing, you'll never walk alone. They're always listening, especially on the phone. When the lines blur, every boy and girl, how we gonna make it in this brave new world?
I think he was referring to this book. I do have a suspicion that Prince might have been taken out for reasons like this. If you're interested, I have a video on this. The link will be on the description box. Let us continue, shall we? Now, people have noticed that the word Lucifer is in the word Luciferase. Some people think it's just a coincidence. Other people think it's Lucifer's color. Well, I ran across something you're going to find very interesting. Is anyone familiar with the famous occultist and Satanist Aleister Crowley? Mr. Crowley, also known as the Beast 666, spent the night in a pyramid for his honeymoon, and he described seeing a light the same color as Luciferase, and it's documented. I'm going to play you a clip here.
Took his wife into the king's chamber for the night to, in effect, show off his magical abilities. What happened that night, we only have Crowley's own words, and they can't be corroborated, but I will read his own account from his own autobiography. Crowley says, "I wanted my wife to see what a great magician I was. We went accordingly after dinner with candles. More from habit than anything else, as I imagine, I had with me a small notebook of Japanese vellum, in which were written my principal invocations, etc. Among these was a copy of the preliminary invocation of the Goetia. We reached the king's chamber after dismissing the servants at the foot of the grand gallery. By the light of a single candle placed on the edge of the coffer, I began to read the invocation. But as I went on, I noticed that I was no longer stooping to hold the page near the light. I was standing erect, but the manuscript was not less but more legible. Looking about me, I saw that the king's chamber was glowing with a soft light, which I immediately recognised as the astral light. I have been accustomed to describe the colour as ultraviolet from its resemblance to those rays in the spectrum, which I happen to be able to distinguish. The range varies, but it is quite noticeably beyond that visible to the normal human eye. The colour is not unlike that of an arc lamp. It is definitely less coloured than the light of a mercury lamp. If I had to affix a conventional label, I should probably say pale lilac, but the quality of the light is much more striking than the colour. Here the word phosphorescence occurs to the mind. It is one of the mysteries of physics that the total light of the sky is very much greater than can be accounted for by the luminous bodies in the heavens. There are various theories, but I personally believe that the force now called radioactivity, which we know to be possessed in some degree by every particle of matter, is responsible. Our eyes are affected with the impression of light by forces, which are not in themselves recognised as luminous. However, back to the facts. The king's chamber was aglow, as if with the brightest tropical moonlight. The pitiful, dirty yellow flame of the candle was like a blasphemy, and I put it out. The astral light remained during the whole of the invocation, and for some time afterwards, though it lessened in intensity as we composed ourselves to sleep.
Revelation 18. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her, and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and all Thyan wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon, and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster, and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, and in her was found the blood of prophets, and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth.